Okay, it's 8:15. I'd like to call the Watcom Public Utility District Commission meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's just quickly look at the agenda. Are there any changes or modifications to the agenda?
No.
Okay, we have an executive session. Talk about it, these will be very quick, with no action is anticipated. We have 2 public comment periods. Let's move on to the consent agenda, which is the minutes of the last regular meeting and the special meeting of June 19th. As well as the claims for June 24th.
Excuse me, sir. I probably want to move and approve the agenda.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I move to approve the agenda. Thank you.
There's all second. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, great. Then I'll second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's move on to public comment. Anyone online?
Thanks for trying to single me out. Well, I mean, in theory, we're all public, but you're the one who's really public.
Yeah, we don't have anybody raising their hand, right?
Now you're making it more public.
Michael? No, I'm going to.
I have it on attendees view for you so you can see. No, there are no hands.
Okay, thank you.
We actually have no visitors.
Okay, so let's move to the second public comment period. If Bob will want to comment at the end, depending on how controversial our meeting is. Let's go on to the general manager's report. Chris, please go ahead.
I only have a real brief general manager's report. In fact, I want to turn it over to Lisa and let her talk about a couple of things.
Okay, good.
Chris mentioned that you wanted to see the materials that we're preparing for the open house.
Oh, yes, great. Thank you.
So I printed these out. So these will be, these are just drafts, so please know they aren't fully approved, but they will be large trifold printed displays. So
Thank you, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
How would input from the commission be helpful to you?
if you have any input on that, you can email it to me.
Everything, wordsmithing, everything, whatever kind of thoughts we have, just,
You're welcome to send it. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
all right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And any other questions about that?
We're all,
It looks good, obviously.
yeah, I like this looks good. We're all committed to being there, I understand, right?
Yeah,
You know? Cool.
and the recruiting, I had an offline conversation with Lisa about and with Chris actually, that the Blaine parade is really the kickoff for
Mhm.
recruiting
It is,
interest.
but I'll also be sending out invitations, and via email, and we are gonna, send out, press releases to the, like we would for, our regular meetings.
Okay.
But with special invite to the public, with some graphics and hopefully we can get some coverage, in some of the smaller local papers as well.
That's great. And when will you start all of that?
Probably right before like at the end of this week.
Okay,
Yeah.
so starting the beginning of July. we will
Right
support
before the
this.
parade, hopefully
Yeah.
people will have seen it some, and
Okay.
then they'll see it there, and then it'll be after that as well, but we'll also be sending like to small cities and other partner organizations that we work with, inviting them as well.
So starting this week, we should also try to do some outreach to try to,
And I can forward you the invitation, at the end of the week when I send it out to anybody that then wants to forward it to
yeah,
folks.
that's great.
Yeah.
And then the parade.
And the parade, right, and then we'll be in the parade and we have, the shirts, well, you've seen them, you haven't seen them, I'll get you one after, today, yours is here, so.
Awesome.
But they say, who are we, come and see, on the back, and that's also on the back of the
Yeah,
float, and so. And then we will also have, postcards to hand out, so if people inquire, when we're handing out candy and during the parade, we can hand those out to have the date and information about the open house on them, it'll all be branded and match the invitations and stuff that we're doing.
It's great, I'm excited.
Okay,
And, we're not gonna need to go for a bond issue, we've already checked on that for the expenses for.
great, no, I'm within my budget, promised in it,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
That's great.
And that's it for the GM report.
Okay, well, let's move on to the operations report.
Kurt Wank is on vacation and Garrett is filling in for him. Garrett, do you have an operations report?
Yeah, so operations have been in full swing for summer projects. We actually just completed a major milestone in the D Station project that was approved for bid last year. Our water crews were working hand in hand with the contractor, making sure everything ran smoothly on bypass, and our electrical team has been working nonstop in the new sub and helping decommission, make safe for the old sub for future decommission of that site. So as we move forward with projects, this is kind of the kickoff for the summer for us.
Thank you, so, and this, Garrett, you mentioned a major, milestone, what was that milestone for?
So the milestone that we completed was the cut-in of the new line at D Station. So during that time, we ran off a bypass that BP installed all the way to their pond system. So it was a coordination between ourselves, the contractor, and BP that lasted for about a week. So.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions?
Thanks, Garrett.
No, okay, thanks for that.
Thank you, Garrett.
Hopefully Kurt's having a nice vacation.
I hope so. We haven't heard from him, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to, old business. So,
So on the broadband, we don't really have much of an update. I did listen to the office hours and I think you were on there too, weren't you?
I joined, but then I had to go, so actually I'm going to watch the recording, I haven't actually watched the recording. I was hoping that maybe we could just get a quick synopsis of what the changes are.
Yeah, and I was gonna just now give that, it's pretty profound. Every single broadband service location has to get a competitive offer round. So if somebody comes in with a lower priced offer per pass, and I think the band that they had, the dead band was about 15%. So if it's, more than 15% below, then that's kind of automatically the winner, regardless of technology. The actual NOFO will drop on July 28th. July 22nd. Something like that. Yeah. And the Wisbo project office has everything lined up to get back to NTIA in time, which I think is, gosh, September.
I just can't imagine that workload is gonna be.
July 2nd. That's what I had heard.
Well, they sent a printed timeline and.
Oh, right, you're right, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so that's one side of it. The other side was.
I just wanna say that seems like an enormous amount of work for the broadband office to get competitive bids and all that stuff in and all that.
They've got 90 days. And NTI laid out the rules and broadband office has no say.
I know, it just seems like an enormous amount of.
Yeah, and so the other part for us was anybody who's already submitted a project, unless you want to have major revisions on it, they'll simply line out all the parts that no longer apply and use what you have if you tell them that that's what you want to do. And that is what I recommend that we do. So all of the digital equity work and everything else that we did, they're just going to leave out and not pay any attention to it. And
I think we said we wanted to have not in a regular commission meeting, but, or it could be adjacent to, but a, broadband check-in. Or broadband meeting, special meeting. So, did. Maybe we can, get some perspective dates on that. I think an hour or two, not more than 2 hours.
Yeah, I would say it's probably not gonna be much more than an hour, so
Yeah.
I'll try and append it to a regular meeting.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we take a break after executive session and then.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably the better way to do it. Hopefully we can do it in an hour.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a pretty good job keeping you guys abreast of where we are all along, so.
I've got one update, and I think, I mean, you know what I'm probably guessing after I say it is, the director of the broadband office is quitting.
Yep.
Um,
And Connie's retiring.
Connie, Rivera, yeah, I've known Connie for 2 decades.
She retires in August or September. Yeah.
And she's kind of like an anchor
Mhm.
too. I just, I'm sure that has to do with job related burnout too,
For Connie?
for everybody,
Well, I think for Connie, it's just time.
yeah. I'm saying that, you know, I'm gonna make a, unsubstantiated, statement that I don't have proof for, but I feel like there's a, clear indirect evidence of all these broadband office directors leaving. And that this job of the broadband office has not been an easy job from day one. We've been through 1, 2, 3 permanents. And many interims, probably that many interims. For the last, 3 or 4 years. It's not healthy to have that kind of turnover in leadership of an organization that is, so, there's nothing we can do about that. We certainly aren't ready. We've done our best to work with all of that, just letting folks know that it's concerning and it probably has to do with this whole sandwich that has been there between federal and local policy. Anyway, I have nothing more to say about that.
Okay. Any questions on broadband?
I guess not, I don't know, yeah, I guess just, no, not right now, sorry.
Yeah, if you had the perception that things are falling apart a little bit, it would be accurate perception, and we're trying to keep it glued together as far as
Yeah.
we're concerned, so. All right, let's move on.
The adjudication, John.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this time, I have a little bit of executive session on some of the litigation side of things today. Just give you a quick update on the case standing committee, the case standing committee has been working on the process for motions and notice of parties, and there's an existing stay that expires in a few weeks. The committee is recommending the court that they extend the stay on filing of motions because the rules haven't been sorted out. And so if you think about this, you have upwards of 10,000 parties. So how do you, with that, you have to serve under the standard court processes and due process requirements, serve every party with every pleading that's filed. So you can imagine if you're a large or small entity to serve by mail, every party, it's gonna be quite expensive. So we're trying to find a process that would allow for and assure some opportunity of adequate notice of a pending motion. And so what we've come up with is similar to what was used in Aquavella, but we can't implement the same thing. In Aquavella, the Department of Ecology undertook to provide a docket sheet every few weeks of what was filed, and then you could go access it. Ecology hasn't stepped up to take that role. The court is saying we don't give legal advice and we don't have the budget to maintain the docket sheet and provide it to everybody, but they do have some software. And so the software, and they have a system where you file you can file electronically or you file by paper of pleading. that gets entered into the system. And so we're trying to have a process that says when you file a document, you have to provide a description of your motion or the action. Some things could be so kind of non-descriptive, substitution of council, change of address of council. That doesn't seem to be important. Why does everybody have noticed? But you need to know how you contact another party if it's, say it's an adjacent property owner whose well might affect yours. And you have a notice of a hearing and you have an objection or something, you are entitled to hear what's going on next to you or anywhere in the basin. You have a motion to say exclude sumas. You know, how do you, from the WIRA and should, you know, or the municipal law issues. How do we find out what's happening when we have today the main case, which is everything, but we know the court in a matter of weeks or years, but most likely may segregate the case into subbasins or subparts, meaning you could do main large water holders, right holders, or you could go geographic and Bertrand Creek, Fish Trap Creek go by basin. So something up in the Sumas watershed could have a legal issue that affects the PUD down in on the main stem. Even though we're not in that watershed, we need to have a right to find out what's being litigated in the Sumas. Let's say that the city of Sumas raises the municipal water law questions, or ecology does, and we want to have a voice in that. How do we find out that that's being heard and when it's being heard and give us adequate time to participate? So we're working through a process that says notice would be on the docket sheet. There has to be some kind of description, and then we're gonna work up some examples so lay people can write an adequate description, not just motion. I want a hearing. What is it? What is it about? What relief are you seeking? So we're working through that and some examples.
That's what the committee's doing.
That's what the committee's doing. And then say, well, how often is the docket sheet published? Is it being sent to everybody? So what we're going through is saying it's going to be posted on the website and at the court. And just like you have to go check your mailbox to get notice, you have to go check the court or you check the email or go online and to find out about it. And then we'll say, once it's posted, notice will be deemed effective X number of days after posting. And we're gonna say, we know it's posted on the last Friday or the second and fourth Friday of every month. And then notice will be deemed effective X number of days later. And then we'll say, once it's posted, you'll have it a little bit more time than usual, rather than the typical 5 or 9 days to file a response. You may have 30 days or 21 days. So trying to find a process that is accessible to everybody without an exorbitant cost.
I have an idea.
And we can't, not everyone is broadband. So,
Really?
really,
Um,
some people don't want it, they're quite frankly.
that's true. Okay. That's for another day. So I have an idea. I'm wondering if, there would be a good, and the areas of concern for me is, not Bellingham, obviously. Or other customers of municipal water purveyors. My concern is private well owners again. And so I'm wondering if there would be a sense in, creating a couple of electronic billboards around the county that would, provide up-to-date information on the latest regarding Whatcom adjudication.
So what we're doing, and this is where, what can the court control to know something's gonna happen on a particular day? Because that's when all these dates start accruing from. So we've said the court will post it on the website and have it available, and then it's effective later. That's what the court can control. They've coordinated, they believe they're gonna be able to work with the library system to have the information at the libraries throughout the county.
That's good.
And so, and we have a member, a well owner, private well owner, non-lawyer on the committee. And so we're trying to get her feedback all the time on this. So if there's a viable electronic billboard that can be posted and accessible,
Okay.
but the thought is that outreach is gonna go through, libraries and then sending them to city halls and asking them to post. But, you know, we can't force city Sumas.
No, I'm just throwing the idea out.
Yeah, no, that's great. So that's kind of what there's a lot of limitations on,
Could you connect me with that private well owner?
Sure.
For then, I just will throw the idea directly to them in an email copy.
Yeah, no, I'll bring it up to the committee.
Okay.
Our next committee meeting's next Friday.
Yeah.
So.
Just trying to help.
Pardon?
Just
Oh,
trying to help.
no idea is a bad idea, whether it's implementable is always another kind of sorting out question with houses. So we're very sensitive, and I have been, how does the layperson have knowledgeable access and not an extraordinary expense to serve everybody?
Mhm.
And so not everyone wants to do e-service, and we can't require e-service, but lawyers want to get e-service, because we're adapted to that. So we're trying to work through all those kind of nuances. So that's what a lot of is going on kind of behind the scenes, and why the stay is going to be extended, because we haven't worked through that. So we have to kind of disconnect the docket sheet issue and process. And once we have that, then we can work on the motions practice and schedules. But Lummy and I have already kind of worked through a lot of that before, and we have a proposal that we assessed out to the committee, but we had to get the docket sheet sorted out. And quite frankly, it's what can the court do? The court have capacity to do, what can the staff at the court? And then there are technological limitations, in my view, based upon the software the state selected to use. It's clear that the court was taking the opportunity of the adjudication to get not only the fifth judge, but to get funding for expansion of their court facilities, even though a lot of the litigation won't be for 3 or 4 years or more. So that's a lot of tension about, well, how are we going to be prioritized when the evidence isn't filed for 4 years, 3 years, and there's no real litigation going on. You're going to build capacity and all of a sudden have your court dockets full, and we keep hearing how, well, we have less judges than some smaller county. That may be the case, but legislators haven't funded it. So a lot of the issue we're facing, the software doesn't have a full capacity, so the docket sheet will probably be a 3-month rolling docket sheet. You can go online and look at what the docket sheets that have been published yet. The interesting thing, because of software limitations, you can't look at the docket sheet, click on an active link and pull up the record like you could on the federal court system. The records will be available at the courthouse or through the state archives electronically. So you kind of find out the document, then you got to go retrieve it somewhere else. We've shook our head about this for 9 months. It is a ridiculous lack of expenditure by the state over the last year. And that commitment for the software has already been made and purchased, and everything we've talked about doesn't go back. And I'm sometimes the point of the spear with criticism of that decision, and I get pushed back, and then they acknowledge the limitation, and it's what you got to deal with and what we would work with.
I mean, we're stuck with that software because we already purchased
The
it.
state did, yes.
The state did, yeah, because I thought the state was funding.
Oh, they are, they just, they bought they bought a
Someone
cheaper version.
decided to.
And
They,
so,
they bought a Prius when the amount of things they needed to put in the car needed to be a Yukon. I
Right,
mean, that's the best way to put it. They
Yeah.
needed a big Yukon, they didn't buy one.
and so, have they recognized this problem, and are they going to?
No, they're not gonna change the state.
And who, if we wanted to get our legislators involved?
I would say that juice isn't worth the squeeze at this point, not that it's not valuable and important, you're not gonna get change.
it can't cost that much.
No, I'm not willing to accept that one.
Okay, and then it's going through the administration of the courts and talk to your legislators. Yeah, and
That just seems like.
We need to be more educated for just talk, I
I
don't
will
want,
try to get.
I don't wanna
I'll try to
be
get.
like certain,
I'll try to get some information for you, but,
I don't wanna come off uneducated or just.
yeah, no, I hear you. I'll try to get some feedback by the next meeting, but it's something we've been complaining about and no reaction.
I like to put that, my concern in a positive context, I just, I attended some events, I've attended presentations, led by ecology, as well as by the county and by the ag community. And I just say, I'm so proud of this community and the level and quality of work everybody's doing to, come together and address this complicated technical issue. And so I wanna see the state demonstrating that same level of performance. And I wanna see the court demonstrating that same level of performance.
Well, yeah, I think,
And the court will get a black eye over the state's mistakes.
yeah, and they won't.
And I
they
don't
won't be
want
seen-
that.
Won't be seen for quite a while, and my mantra is about due process and adequacy of notice and opportunity.
Due
To
process.
participate, what a concept. But that's. We're trying to do, at the committee, we're trying to adopt rules so they can be implemented within the next year, less than the next year, and we don't see any software change on the horizon. And the software change would be assuming there was funding in the next biennium, you'd probably take 2 years later to try to implement it and transfer it over. All the data and things have been filed because you've got a case in process. And it would then go through possibly the rest of the counties, I don't know this, but I'm assuming the rest of the county's litigation because it's a system that's will be implemented for all cases. It's just not designed for a 10,000 party case, and this is a one-off kind of case that you don't see much. Federal courts might see something, but they're much more adapted to it. So our focus has been, how do we get functional notice that's adequate to the parties that we have, be aware of what's pending and an opportunity to participate, not just, oh, yeah, you found out because it got posted on a Monday and pleadings are due next Friday. That's not reasonable. You know, so it's posted, you've got so much time to go look, so you know every week when you have, what weeks you have to go look for documents. And then once you find them, you'll then have X amount of days later to file a response, if you want. I see a lot of consternation in your face of what I can see today.
I don't know, it just sounds like a solvable problem.
Oh, good.
Like, I understand the, you know, the aberrations of this case, you know, but it's like, it's just seem, I don't understand how
Yeah,
this could be such a, like, we couldn't just have a software that do the job, but.
There's so many layers to the various issues, you know, you have, I'll just give you one, so the form. And this is where parties, you have parties in a litigation that don't, the court can't sit down with a party and sort out, they do an open hearing, you provide information and you respond. So the form has on it property ID number. Well, is that your tax parcel number or is that your property ID, the 6-digit number that the county gives? Is it required, or does the form have to be strictly construed as complete, or is it, you know, substantially compliant? If you had the wrong number, so what? Or does it have to have the right number? You have your water right identification number. Well.
Yeah, and that's a relatively new number for most people,
Very
especially
new
private
number
well owners.
because it was on the cover sheet to the summons that was sent to you, and that's an ecology tracking number. But that's on the
Yeah.
form, and ecology will tell you, well, that's not required, but you look at the form, it says, if available, it doesn't say it's not required, so it was
And they're
available.
handing out these metal tickets, metal tags at these events, by the way.
Yeah, and so and so then you go, you have your
What's your
surface
number?
right number, you have your water right number, you have the adjudication number that ecology sent out, you'll have your case number that the court gives you, it's gonna be a separate number each time you file a claim. You know, and there's 2 or 3 other different numbers that are associated, so what's the right number? So so we're trying to, okay, what is the meaningful number for the party, not the court, but the individual that's tracked?
Mhm.
You know, and we don't care that ecology has to have a checklist internally, that's that's your issue, not the public's issue in being able to adequately file. How do we file their claim, so how do we work through, and so there's just, an ecology, there's a lot of questions that come up, just, people are trying to do the right thing, but like anything, a lot of questions come up, and I flippantly say lawyers are mischief makers, because we find an issue and we'll make mischief with it. And so we're trying to eliminate the mischief opportunities and in this. So that's the well owner, so they have the wrong ID number on there, but you have your address, you can figure it out,
Mhm.
you know, come on.
Come on.
Yeah, so,
As a matter of fact, I want that to be added to the judge's acceptable terms whenever people are, come on, judge, come on.
So anyway, I know I've not spent a little bit of time going into detail, but that's what we're working on. We didn't meet last week, but because of various schedules, but we are meeting about once a month, every week.
Yeah, thanks for the work you're doing in that committee. It's really important and I'm glad we're getting this regular updates.
So, there you go, that was my adjudication update, sorry.
Don't be sorry.
That's in the-
You didn't cause us problems.
What happens at the end of the year, John? Who's gonna have to go?
So no,
Are you staying?
probably a different discussion, I may linger on, just participate with the committee
In
for
the
the
committee?
PUD for a little while, just to get some.
Pro bono time and
Yeah, we'll see, but well, we may linger a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to try to, I told them that that's the intent is down at the end of the year, but I have conveyed to Chris and others that I'm going to hang around through May to ensure the claim filing. We're trying to get the claims done, informed by the end of the year, but things arise, it might change something, so I'm gonna unplug, but I'll still have Bluetooth connection
good.
for getting our claims.
Yeah, I just, just thinking about my concern for your own well-being, I just feel like that whole work-life balance thing needs to be, to just come and curtail it completely, I'm just worried,
Yeah.
so doing some charitable
Charitable work.
legal work would be probably be good for you. I just only.
So there you go.
Okay,
So
moving
you
on.
might have me to kick around for a little bit.
So, there's really nothing to share on the geothermal update.
Okay.
Just Andrew's been working it and we're close to the next report out from our consultant, and as soon as that's out, it'll be at the next commission meeting.
And we were exploring some things with our federal delegation to try to expedite the leases.
They have been extremely responsive. But the agencies have not.
Okay,
So we're still doing that.
okay,
The strategic plan, I prefer not to have an update just because we're all kind of,
in the middle of it,
I think everybody's up to speed.
yeah.
And that's
Just for the public's benefit, we had a meeting last week,
Mhm.
right, and that the recording is available.
and I think that concludes old business.
Yeah, it
Now
does.
we're on new business.
Okay, so on new business action, one is the Allen's Road improvements. This is a new project, right?
Brand new project for the commission, not a new project for us. Garrett, wanna take it away?
Yeah, good morning again, Commission. This is a new project, that is correct. So a little background. Staff has been tracking development in the Cordata area on Allen's Road that has slowly been encroaching a little bit into our 115 transmission line. This project came about because essentially one of our structures is going to be encompassed by fencing. If you're looking on the map, it's over by the guide on the 115.
Okay,
Yeah, so we are going to lose access to one structure essentially on our 115. And the reason we want to put the steel pole in is because the steel poles require less maintenance over a longer period of time. And it's going to be easier for us to maintain our easement access with a single pole instead of the traditional double pole H-frame that we're running right now. We sent it out to 5 companies. One responded, which is kind of typical. This is a smaller project for a line crew to be running at this busy time of the year for line companies. Salish Construction Company responded. They are within our engineer's estimate with requirements to the RCWs. They are a little bit higher than what we originally had budgeted for, but we've been tracking material costs going up throughout, the spring with everything that was going on with market conditions. So we kind of accounted for that, and we have enough inside of our electrical O&Ms to cover that additional cost. Do you guys have any questions?
yeah, so this is a replacement of just one H-frame with one steel pole.
Correct.
So the wires will then go from the steel pole to a series of H-frames after that, after they cross the vicinity of the road.
Yeah, so they will continue. It's in a field actually. So it'll be on a steel pole and it will be H-frames before and after. Long term is to start replacing this area with steel poles, but this was the critical one that had to get done this year, as the development will be done by the end of this summer.
So, we'll have, more replacement. I'm curious, do we keep a kind of a forecast of estimated annual replacements of poles?
We do a test and treat of all of our poles, and Garrett and John Littlefield manage that. So we've got a really good handle on the physical condition of all of our poles and when they need to be replaced. That being said, you know, you can have a pole or an H-frame, two poles, where the poles are perfectly fine, and for a reason like this, you gotta replace it.
Right.
Um,
And that shows up as a line item in our budget every year, right? Like an approximate, replacement rate. Do we do that? Do we do it? that way?
Yes, I mean, it's part of our bulk capital that we put in.
But do we break out, that bulk capital with replacement rates of things that, like poles?
I don't think we break it out at that level of
Just curious.
specificity.
Okay. I've got no further questions, dude. You have any questions?
Are we anticipating more of this sort of project in the near future?
Because of encroachment,
Yeah, because of encroachment, new
Well,
developments and such.
we have a pretty limited
Yes, I know
transmission.
we don't have a lot of,
Yeah.
not too many poles, right, but.
So it's something that whenever you think about your right of ways, you have to manage those.
Right.
And the good news for the PUD, when I got here, was a big concern, because I've seen that be a problem in other utilities. And what I found was that that our crew is really diligent about frequently patrolling these things. And they have been bringing this particular issue to management pretty consistently for the last couple of years since it first occurred. So. it's
Kind of
almost-
predicted it. It was well predicted.
Oh, yeah, that's why I said it's new to you guys, not new to us.
Right.
We've been talking about this for quite a while. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah.
I think we're really fortunate here that we've got a bunch of really good people who've been on this for a long, long time. And, I don't see the problem with managing right of ways here that I see in other utilities.
Right, because
We're on top of it.
okay.
Now, that being said, and John will back me up on this one, a lot of our right of ways are quite old. And they were not written with today's language and standards and understanding, so, you know, that's an issue. And then we've had issues with surveying. And different surveyors in different eras end up with slightly different answers, and that can be a problem. So we've got those issues to deal with, but you don't even know you have those issues unless you're on, you know, your patrols and you know what's happening in your right of way. No, those are good problems to have.
And we're working through solutions on some of those conflicts.
Yeah.
So the only non-standard about this sounds to me like this is only one respondent, but it's not unusual for there to be one respondent on this kind of a bid.
No, as Garrett says, a single pole is a tiny job. I mean, that is. Most of these guys, they want a job they can go and park a crew on for a season, you know, 30, 100 poles. And
So it's a multi-million-dollar project, in other words, this is
this is just,
100 and something thousand for,
we're glad somebody bid on
yeah, 100 and something for one pole.
it. Dude,
I mean, noting that
Wow.
they were glad they bid on it, and they bid on it as if it was a production job. So, pretty happy with what we got.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me that it's 100 and something thousand for one pole.
Oh, that's monopole.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you start thinking about 115 poles or 230 poles are more like 200,000 a copy, but yeah.
And what's the spacing of these poles?
What's our ruling span, like 700?
Yeah, I want to say about 700.
700 feet,
Yeah,
so. You know what I'm doing,
yeah, catenary drops about 22 feet.
okay. So we're talking about 8 of these per mile,
Roughly, yeah.
so just poles alone is over $1 million.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, if you wanted to go and replace a mile of line, it's gonna be, you know, with these monopoles, it's $1 million, yeah.
Okay,
Noting that the low bid was about, over 30% higher than what was budgeted, and it kind of is accounting for just the cost of the material, the pole load, is that outlined in the bid? Because that just seems like, that's even accounting for tariffs or whatever, it's a pretty big jump, isn't it? In cost.
Most of the steel comes from overseas, then you've got the concrete, no, it's really, that's the kind of jump we've been seeing.
Yeah, so we track the market conditions about monthly. And when we see jumps like that, we go to the engineers and we ask them to update, the engineer's estimate based on what they're seeing with the market conditions. So the engineer's estimate came in about 120,000. The issue with this is we planned on this project and we completed the engineering last year, waited for essentially a budget item for us for this year, and that's where we saw that jump. So you're looking at essentially 6 months of delay between budget time and then us awarding this project.
Right. No, I see, I see where that happened. I guess I'm just curious how much of the figure in the bid is material cost?
About 85% of it is material cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that is, I mean, that's something to note. I mean, it's good that, I mean, we only have to do one,
Right
but,
now, yeah,
if, I mean, this is just something to note. I mean, how much this surge of material cost is gonna be impacting not just us, but many other utilities.
no, yeah, much more.
That's, yeah, that's a big, I mean, that's notable, so, okay.
And right, and, that increases on the materials, but I'm wondering, I don't think labor goes up as much, has gone up like materials has gone up, right, so. Interesting,
I think labor is really volatile. It depends on the bidding environment.
anyway, okay, do we have any further questions? I'm ready to prove it,
Move to approve.
okay, I'll second that. There's a motion and a second on action one to award the E6 Allen's Road improvements to project contractor Salish Construction Company. And authorize the general manager to execute the agreement. So the motion is second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
thank you, thank you, Garrett.
I think we're at commissioner reports.
Yes. Yeah, okay, so Commissioner Arnett's not here, hopefully Commissioner Arnett's enjoying her vacation. Commissioner Yuri.
Guess I don't have,
With any Energy Northwest stuff, or that's still coming up, right?
there are executive board meetings this week. I was gonna try to dial in and catch some of, but yeah, next month is the.
Big stuff.
Yeah, the full meeting of the full board of directors, so. Yeah, I should, yeah, probably not too much to report right now.
Yeah, yeah.
For, coming up, I guess, it'll be later in July, there's, I guess it's I think it's the same week of the,
What meetings?
or the week of the, or I guess in between, or the same week of the, Energy Northwest meetings, there's this Pacific Northwest Economic Region Conference in Seattle, and I was considering, we got like some discount code through PUD, and I was considering registering for one day. Maybe on the Monday, and coming back up for a meeting, and then going up to Tri-Cities. I don't feel like I would need to charge a per diem for that, just because it's, pretty elective, just be out of interest, but I think there was.
Well, you still have a travel day too, you can combine it with a travel day, especially if you go in and.
Yeah,
So all of you covered as a travel day.
yeah, the full conference kind of overlaps with our meeting day and with Tri-Cities, but I was thinking the first day, Monday, there was some interesting panels relevant to utilities, and.
Why don't you bring it, there's time to bring it to our next commission meeting?
Yeah, I was just,
I'd be supportive of it though, but,
I can pay my own way on it too, I think it would, but for just a single day registration, but, just flag that was coming up, but that's, yeah, I think that's the week after our Wapuda meetings, and, Chris, do you plan to go to Skagit for Wakuda at all?
Just for the GM meeting, I'll dial into the rest of them.
Okay.
I'm going there. I'm going. And I'm going on the tour. And hey, I wanted to ask, what do I do for the commission boat trip? Through Deception Pass, is that something that I should submit that for reimbursement?
Yeah,
Social event, okay,
yeah, I mean, it's part of Wakuda.
okay.
Yeah.
Just double checking. I don't wanna do something. You know,
No, that's part of the actual Wakuda.
I'll be very studious on the boat trip. So,
Yeah, I'm not doing the boat trip, but I do. plan
and the
to-
Helion, yeah.
Helion tour, I'm looking forward to, yeah.
There's a lot of people interested in Helion. I'm looking forward, and of course, Chris, did you respond on the Helion tour?
No, I'm not gonna go.
Okay.
No, I already know those guys and I can get a tour anytime I want.
Oh,
That's cool.
cool. Yeah, right. You've talked, yeah, okay. Okay then. But I look forward to talking to you about the
Yeah.
Helion tour after the tour and, because, I think there's a lot of people in our community interested in that. So,
Well, just briefly, the RFC technology that they're pursuing uses a boron proton fusion. So essentially, you don't have to worry about getting deuterium and tritium, and it's aneutronic. So it doesn't generate hot neutrons out the back end. So it's an absolutely remarkable technology, and I hope it works.
yeah. Looking forward to seeing that. So, as far as,
Yeah.
me, I
Yeah.
kind of covered. Should I go ahead and go?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Wakuda, coming up, I guess, I don't know if PPC's having meetings in July. I assume they will be. No, they are. July 2nd, they're PPC meetings, so I'll attend those remotely. I think you can only attend those remotely, actually. So, that's all upcoming and it's standard. I really don't have anything to report.
It's that quiet time of year.
It's quiet time of year. Well, yeah, true. I've been working in the garden now. So, with that, okay, is anything else on commissioner reports? Nope, so let's move on to our second public comment period. I think we have Todd, you prepared a PowerPoint,
No,
No.
but I will take a moment. Todd Lagus here is a private citizen. I went to the last Whatcom County Business and Commerce Committee meeting that they had. And that's one of those committees that is put on by Whatcom County to hear from citizens and allow, and that one's especially, I think, important, especially given the adjudication issues coming forward. And I didn't memorize who was on the call or not if you zoomed in, but I would just say that given the discussions that were surrounding adjudication, it'd be important for a commissioner or two to just log into that.
So I was at that meeting.
Were you? Okay.
Yeah, we sat by each other.
The one they just did?
Oh, did they just do another one on adjudication?
Yeah. Yeah, it's monthly.
Yeah, and monthly, yeah, okay, but I didn't think that they'd be going back to that same topic again. And
It's pretty important to the business community.
Yeah, okay, so I wonder if that's recorded.
Probably is somewhere on the.
Okay, I'll try to catch that.
And just, from what I heard, it was interesting, the discussion. There's a lot of interest from some members of the community to try to jump the shark, if you will, if you remember the Fonzie episode, and move straight to the solutions. But I think that it's they're gonna have to go through the adjudication, but I believe that Whatcom PUD can be the lead agency that starts that solution conversation. And not only can be, but should. So I hope you guys there's some opportunities there, I think, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any hands raised online.
Okay, well, let's close the second public comment period and move on to adjudication. We don't anticipate any action. In the executive session, talk about adjudication, we don't anticipate any action. And then we'll probably adjourn shortly after that, so.
I would say
Thank you.
that we'll adjourn, 9:15,
We're gonna be 5 minutes, so 9:10.
9:10.
9:10, yeah.
Clear, we'll talk and I'll be done in less than 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks.
We're going to executive session.
So
Let's wait a
Oh, Joseph?
Oh, we said 9:15. I have 9:15, so. Did we say that? We were about 9:15. We can. Yeah, you're done. You can adjourn.
We adjourn?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just left executive session, we're in the open public meeting and there's no further action for the PUD. So I'd like to call the meeting closed. Thank you all for coming.